Welcome to the Eddielytic podcast. I'm your host, Eduardo de Paz-Barahona, and today's episode is going to be basically about you guys being able to get to know me. All right. So, the actually, guys, I'm learning how to speak right now. Like, I genuinely want to get good at speaking, and in order to do that, I have to talk all the time and just let it rip off the dome. And that's why I started this podcast. So, if you see me pause and you see me just like take a minute to think, just this is literally me learning on the fly. Okay? So, if you see me looking over here, I have notes about what I want to talk about in a specific order because I'm talking about the things that brought me to where I am today, which is an online fitness coaching business where I've made my first 10K month and I've helped a lot of people get into pretty good shape at this point. So, with that being said, I now want to dive into what exactly that brought me here to want to start podcasting. I kind of told you part of the reasons, but everything that led up to this exact moment. All right. So here we go. We're starting with my upbringing. Okay. So I grew up in a first generation Latino household. I'm Salvadorian. And basically, like, we did not have a lot of money. Okay. Parents didn't speak a lot of English, and when it came down to speaking English or doing anything that involved the English language, like seeing a lot of or like translating a lot of contracts that a 7-year-old should not be translating. Those are the things that I had to do as a kid, basically, because my parents came from the boonies of El Salvador, where they listened to cows every morning, and their biggest form of transportation was like motorcycle taxis, where it's literally uh, a motorcycle slash taxi mixed in one, and you just hop in the back for like 25 cents, kind of like a little princess carriage type of deal, except instead of horse it was a motorcycle. Anyway, that's the kind of upbringing my parents had. So when they came to here to America, they didn't speak a lick of English. And the only people that could help them with the English language was me and my brother because we went to public school here. So, point is, that's how out of touch my parents were when it come to how advanced the US was. And how I'm tying that to my upbringing is because those are the things that I had to literally hold on, one of my clients just texted me. Bear with me, make sure he's okay. Let me text him back. Bet. So, anyways, where was I? Okay. So, now I'm looking back at the notes. So, we were never really like starving, okay? It was never like that bad. But we weren't going to Aruba every summer or going on like a cruise ship every summer like a lot of the people that I went to public school with would do as kids for their vacation. The biggest thing we had to vacation was going to Six Flags, you know? So now I'm not saying I wasn't grateful for those times either. Like those were amazing times. However, as I got older, or even as a kid, I always wondered, I was like, how come we can't go on like a vacation to Aruba or a cruise? And yeah, we just didn't have the money like that. So Six Flags was like a big day for us. Anyway, so with all that being said, oh, if I was lucky though, I would go to El Salvador. That was like ultimate vacation right there. And we would just go to like, my mom's little village in La Paz. It's called El Llano. And that's literally where we would see generations upon generations of people that have lived there and spent all their lives there. It's really cool taking a step into a third world country and seeing how they live their lives. It's actually really cool because they be taking showers with like this huge tub of like water from like the mountain, this cement tub, and you would literally grab like a bowl and just whoosh, that's how you would take a shower. It would be freezing cold. However, though, hella refreshing. And El Salvador was hot, so it it made the showers like, I guess, kind of good. But bro, cold showers are never fun, no matter how hot it is. Anyways, you guys can see that that was like my upbringing. Anyways, so that was pretty much a summation of, or a summary of, my childhood. You know, grew up first generation, parents didn't know lick English, didn't grow up with a lot of money. And if we were able to have some money, we would go to El Salvador. That was vacation for us. So little things like me asking for toys and stuff, like, my mom would be hesitant because it would cut in the budget a lot. And I didn't realize it at the time, but yeah, like we were doing well enough to just survive, is the best way I can describe it. Anyways, so now that was my childhood up until, I would say, like 17 is when I finally got my first job. So I was able to pay for things myself. And my first job was, honestly, my first job was Chipotle, but I was like the people that served the food, but I hated that job. Like, I only lasted like a month, and I hated it, bro. It was so ass, but the food was worth it though for like 3 months, and then I was like, fuck this, I can't do this no more. So I ditched that job, and pretty much did not work that summer when I was like 16. This is more like 16. All right. And so when I quit that job, it was my junior year of high school. So I pretty much just played football and wrestled, as like sports, like keep myself fit. And again, I was just not working, but my parents had just enough money to be, hey, like, here's like $50, make it last as long as possible. Okay. And then once I turned 17, and I was like, okay, I'm about to turn 18, like I should really start providing for myself and getting my own money instead of asking my parents for money. That's when I got my job at IHOP. And that's when I first started off as a host and started waiting tables. Again, ass job too, but it really made me appreciate what I have now, because seeing that that's where I started, I was like, damn, bro, like these customers are ass. Um, People don't be tipping at IHOP. And that left me with a lot of trauma, because whenever I go out, no matter how shitty the service is, I'm always like, I'm gonna tip, bro, because I know what it's like to be on that other side. Okay. So I spent about 4 years working in customer service industry, specifically like in the food industry. And so from 17 till 21, actually, yeah, it was 4 years. I would, go to school during the fall, winter, and spring, and then all summer, I would just wait tables. And I went from waiting tables at IHOP to this, basically this IHOP on steroids called Expectations. And that's where I basically waited tables, but for like a bougie IHOP. It had a bar, again, breakfast and eggs type of ordeal, coffee, all the pancakes, all the whole shebang. But um, it was just higher class. That's all it was. And so were the customers too. So they treated you a lot better, and they tipped you a lot more. Anyways, so as I would live those 4 years, what I would do is I would save all the money that I did and take that to college with me. And again, broke. Whatever I had at that time was what I had to last me until the next holiday break, so I could go back, wait tables, and save up as much, and then bring that with me to college. So that was my life for 4 years. I was studying economics at that time, and how I came across that major was because a person who I would consider one of my first mentors, Dorian Ramirez. Dorian, if you're watching this, shout out to you, dog. He was someone that I looked up to as like a older brother figure, because I am the older brother in my family. And seeing how he was like 2 years older than me and so sure about what he wanted to do in life and pursuing what degree was going to get him there, I related to him a lot. Well, I didn't relate to him. It was more so I saw him as someone I could look up to because, my dad wasn't a part of my life for a while, honestly. At that point, it was just the beginning of my dad not being a part of my life, so I no longer had like a role model. So he just, okay, now I'm getting to my personal life, but how him and I met was because I was just like a freshman in college and he was a junior at UVA, and he just saw me studying while, everyone else was like working. I was just a host. And he was like, yo, bro, like, I rock with you. You're out here grinding. Like, I respect that. And then that's literally how we've become boys ever since. So I got to know him, and he was very, like, business oriented, like, business mindset. And he was like, yeah, bro, I'm studying economics. So then I was like, you know what? I don't know what to pick. I want to make money, and that degree will help me make money. So let's at least do that. Anyways, so, mm, there we go. So after spending 4 years, waiting tables and making money and making connections, I believed that graduating college would finally give me like the security that I had been working towards, right? That's why I studied econ. All right. And I eventually graduated with the degree in economics. But the problem was that like no company wanted to hire me. Like I literally didn't have any skills. I just had a piece of paper that said I went to school. Um, so what happened, honestly? So yeah, actually, yeah. Let's talk about this. So because I had no skills, my like no company wanted to hire me, and so I felt like a loser, dog. And I was the first in my family to go to college, so everyone was like expecting me to like be that one child, that one, son in the family. It's like, oh my god, out of everyone in the family, Eduardo's going to college, and I came out like without a job. I had no skills. So that was like probably one of the first slap to the faces that life gave me, that, bro, like no one is coming to save you. And like my dad had been gone for like years at this point. So I didn't really have like a path. Like the path that I had, which was go to school, was done. That was it. Then it was like, all right, now go make something happen. Anyways, uh the next part kind of really sucks. So because I had no skills, I was like, dude, I gotta make money somewhere. Oh yeah, I didn't mention this. I did get fired from my job waiting tables, because of COVID. They shut down all the restaurants. So like, yeah, bro, you're not even a full time employee. Just don't come. We can't even afford to pay you right now. There's not enough people coming in. So I was like, all right. So anyway, it's back to the story. So that restaurant ended up shutting down during COVID, and by the time I graduated, it was still shut down. So I had no job. And so I started door dashing. And bro, I felt like a loser, bro. I felt like just like a loser. Like I have nothing going for me. Nothing. Even like the degree was like worthless cuz I had no skills. In meantime, like I was just getting over a breakup, it was a really bad one too because like like that was a girl I met in school, and I was like, I thought that was gonna be my wife at the time, but life told me nah, bro. um so I was going through a breakup. Father figure was gone from my life. um no role model, and no skills, and I was door dashing. Yeah, I was like 22, 23. And so then I was like, dog, I gotta do something with my life. Like this cannot be my story. So I ended up getting a job at this one company called. Actually, I'm not gonna say the company. This media analytics company, and it was for a job I did not like, but I had no skills. So I was like, I just need to get money somewhere. Basically, I had to read a bunch of articles and give my opinion on what I could categorize them as, and that would feed the company data for the data analysts who were making real money, could analyze it and then make business decisions. Got fired from that job, or asked to leave because I sucked at that job. Another blow to the ego, bro, that I'm going nowhere in life. And so, yeah, they were like, bro, like, we don't want to fire you. Like, can you please leave? Like, you're not performing. And it hurts so bad, dog. I actually felt like a loser. And the reason why I keep saying loser is because my dad used to call me a loser because I couldn't do jobs well. He was a mobile mechanic. So I couldn't do jobs well. And because of that, he would just tell me that, like, I'm not going to amount to anything. So when that happened in my 23-year-old early career, I was like, shit, man. Like, is what my old man told me, right? Anyway, hit to the ego. And I kind of also felt like I disappointed everyone in my family because everyone was hyping me up for a while, and for that to happen, it's like what's wrong with this kid? Like, can he not do anything? Anyway, so once I got let go, I went back to door dashing, and I was like, bro, who's doing well in my network? I need to copy what they're doing. So I hit up some friends, and a lot of them worked in the data space. You know, some were data analysts, other were like software engineers. And I asked them what the pay range was, and it was great money, like entry level 60, 70, 80K a year. And so I was like, what do I got to do? And they're like, well, you got to do this, that. You got to learn how to use these tools. And I was like, how do I learn how to do that? And they're like, well, you could try these courses. You could just buy them online and they'll teach you. And you have a degree that pairs well with those types of skills. So as long as you can get through the courses, get the certifications, and make make a portfolio of projects, you can present that to employers and go through the interview process. So what I did for 4 months was DoorDash, and I invested in those courses. I got money to invest in those courses, and started grinding for 4 months. And in between me grinding on how to become a data analyst, I then got a job bartending. So it was more it was more money and less wear and tear on my car. So I was like, all right, bet. So I was able to get a table for this. To get a table, I was able to get a job for this Mexican restaurant where I was waiting tables and bartending. And for a solid 4 months of me posting on my LinkedIn and documenting my learning and my projects, I get a message from this one guy named Julian. Julian, if you're watching this, shout out to you for giving me my first job. Saying, hey, bro, like, I see we went to the same university. I see that you're into data analytics. We're actually looking for someone else to join the analytics team. I'm a part of it. Let's chop it up. And so we did. And I was able to pull it off. I got my first job as a data analyst. I was making like 65K a year. So I went and got that job, right? And that's where I really got my first year of like, okay, we made it this far. We got a job, a legit big boy job, and we're on our own, you know? So I was able to have just enough money to move out and move closer to the headquarters that hired me, and got my own place, and just grinded at that job for a year and be like, all right, what's next? So I realized that, okay, investing in a course that increased my skills made me money. If I do that again and have more advanced skills and invest in more advanced courses, I will make more money. And so that's what I did. I invested in more courses. I started to learn Python. First, I only knew Power BI. And I did that for about 8 months. Or 8 months to a year and some change. It was one or the other. And then what happens? I get a call from this random number in DC from a job application that I applied to a year ago for the federal government. I know, right? The government answered a year later. Anyways, um, and I basically get this call from this guy saying, "Hey, Eduardo, like, your resume made it to my desk, and I see that you're interested in becoming an economist. Like, tell me about you. And I'll never forget this. I didn't answer the phone. That was actually a voicemail he left me because I didn't recognize the number. So I called my brother and I was like, yo, this guy that's apparently, with the government is asking me if I want to talk to him about being an economist. And he was like, Eduardo, why the fuck are you talking to me about this? Go call him back. And so I was like, he's right. Hung up the phone with my brother and called back that number. And we chopped it up. And that was basically my first interview. And I told him, what I knew, what I've done for the company I work for, and he was like, "Look, we're looking to fill in this position, and like, how much would you, be willing to work for us?" I'm like, honestly, dog, like, give me minimum 80 to 100K, and I'll move out there. And he was like, "What?" But the reason why I said it with so much confidence, because the worst he could do was say no, and I still have a job, so it's like all the leverage is in my favor. So the only reason why I'm going to move back to the DMV area is just so I could is only if it's under the salary that I want. And so months went by, and it ended up working. I got a second interview, right, with everyone. After that first interview, and then I met my boss's boss at the time. He liked me. Then I met the whole economic team, and not gonna lie, very smart people, PhDs, masters, very formal. Keep in mind, I don't like the formality of corporate. I really don't. It's so like professional, and I like to just be myself. And we all know that the corporate culture is very like you gotta kind of speak a certain way, and that's just not who I am. Anyways, um, they all liked me, even though they grilled me, asking me some very advanced economic questions. And next thing I know, I get a job offer. So I was like, all right, we're making 25K, 23. How much is that? 17K more. I went from 65 to 83. So I was like, let's go. So I moved back to Virginia and I stayed there for about 8 months at that job. And this was around the time where um, Trump just got into office. And the first thing the first thing this dude started to do was just say, "Hey, all you government fucks, yo, none of y'all do shit for us. So you got two options. Option number one, you can stay and cross your fingers and put your tail between your legs, and hope I am not going to fire you if I don't feel like you are providing value. Option number two was, look, if you just voluntarily quit, I will continue paying your salary while you look for a second job in the public sector." I was like, hey, yo, bro, sign me up. I signed that so fast. And that's when I was able to pretty much start looking for another job. And I was like, okay, I have 2 years of experience at this point, and I've done multiple I've done multiple projects that I have access to and that I can show employers. Because one of the dashboards that I built, I'll leave a link in the description below where it is. One of the things that I built was, this public dashboard basically that showed the economic effects of the let's just say the aviation industry. I'm not going to say for which industry I worked for, but anyways, I had to do a report on that. And those were like part of the portfolios I could show employers. Just how I got my very, very first job was showing employers my projects. So, as after I signed that, I just started like firing off job applications, and counting down my last day. And so, um, once I secured a job, before leaving my job as an economist, or no, yeah, I was able to secure a higher paying job before, getting let go from my job as an economist. And it was for $120,000, 120, 110. I don't remember the exact number, but it was that range. And I was like, whoa, bro, like we went from 60 to 65 to 83 to 120, 110. So at this point, I'm like, dude, I have faith in myself. I can, like, I'm making a good living out here on my own. And that was like the first moment where I realized, dude, if I just work hard consistently for a long period of time at acquiring a high paying skill, it'll pay off. It'll pay off at some point. It will. And it really hit me there. And this newfound sense of confidence came because I never thought that I would be a person that could generate, $110,000, $120,000 a year because of the upbringing that I had, where my parents didn't speak a lick of English, and I only knew how to wait tables, and all I had was a degree that said I went to school class, and when I graduated college, no company wanted me. So seeing that I was able to get an income like that, and knowing that that's where I came from, it opened my eyes that, whoa, if you really just stay consistent with learning something that can pay well, it'll pay off. It really, really will. Where was I going with that? I kind of fell off my script. Okay, now I know where I'm at. So I start this new job, right? And I'm enjoying my life. I really am. I'm like, bet I'm making 110, 120. I'm working from home full time. I'm good at what I do. Like, I get my work done very efficiently. Then I was like, well, I scratched that itch of wanting to make six figures. Now what? Then I was like, okay, let's start a business. What are we already good at? Before I continue that, keep in mind the business that I'm about to talk about, I tried to do 3 years ago when I got my very first data job. However, I was not patient enough to reap the rewards of the amount of effort I had to put in for a long period of time. I was not able to be okay with not seeing a reward soon in comparison to the reward I got from learning data analytics. So I tried, failed, tried, well, not failed, more like quit. I tried, quit, tried a different business, quit, tried another different business, quit. So then I just kept pouring into data because that was the thing that was working, right? However, by the time I was making 120, 110K a year, I realized, okay, if I want to start a business, I have to apply the same consistency, discipline, and patience that got me to where I'm at when it came to my job in data analytics. So I was like, all right, online fitness coaching. Let's give it another stab, but let's approach it with a much more mature mindset, which is just be patient with it. All right. It's something that you can grow over a long period of time. You're making a great living that whether the business does well or not, it doesn't matter. You're already taken care of by your day job. All right. So that gave me the peace of mind to just keep going, keep growing, keep trying. So what I did was instead of trying to figure it out on my own, I invested in a mentor. His name was Nigel Daly. Nigel, if you're watching this, shout out to you, my boy. And I hired him to teach me how to build and run my online fitness coaching program. And now that I think about it, the gym is honestly what built the foundation for how I was able to get a job in data analytics and even graduate college because I've been working out since I was 14 years old and I'm 27. I'm about to be 28. I used to be such a skinny twig, unpopular, and I was also overweight at the time as a kid. So I got the shitty end of the stick when it came to kids treating me in school, in elementary school. And once I started working out, that's when I immediately saw the kids at school treat me better. And I'm going to dive a little bit into it. So, where do I even start? I specifically remember looking at the popular kids and thinking, man, like, I wish I was like them. In shape, athlete, Everyone in the class wanted to talk to the soccer player, the football player, the basketball player. They dressed the best as well. They were the better looking people too, in like the whole class. And I remember thinking like I wish I could be them. And then I would look at myself like in the mirror, like dang bro, like now that I think about it, I was like, you don't have all the things that they have. Like those were the same kids that were going on vacation to like Aruba. And I would think to myself as a kid, like, wow, you were just kind of dealt like a shitty deck. Like, why me? Why is it that I had to grow up like this? Not only do I not have like the lifestyle that they had as a child, which was the vacations and things like that, I also didn't have the clothes that they had. I didn't have the physique that they had, that they were in shape. I didn't have the money to go play sports like they did for fun. I was just like, dang, like all these cards are just so against me. But it wasn't until I started hitting the gym in high school, my freshman year of high school. Bah, wasn't started that. It wasn't until I started hitting the gym my freshman year of high school that my body began to change and I started to get in really good shape. And that's when I immediately realized that people started treating me better. I remember specifically this one girl, her name was Caitlin. She was like poking at my chest and my arms, and she was like, "Have you been working out?" And I remember thinking, I was like, "Shit, this girl who I thought was really cute is pretty much telling me I have muscle, and she's touching like me." It wasn't like that kind of way, but it was like, "Whoa, have you been working out?" And I remember I was like, "Whoa, this is the first time like a girl I thought was cute gave me attention." And so um once that happened, I was like, there's no way I'm stopping the gym now. There's just no way. I'm finally being treated like nicely. Damn, that sounds so bad. And I just kept at it. I kept at it. And then little by little, I noticed the same people that made fun of me started respecting me. Here's an example. I remember I was in the weight room in high school, and I don't remember who exactly, but it was people that were part of the football team because I played football in high school. That's how I got introduced to the gym. I tried football to like make friends and everything. Still sucked. Still bullied around. All that yada yada. And when it came to working out though, that's when the same people on the football team were like, "Yo, Eduardo, how did you get bigger? Like, how did you get your chest so nice? How did you get your arms like bigger?" Those same popular kids that I admired started asking me for advice. And I was thinking like, "Wait, what? You think you think I'm doing something like cool? You want my help?" And then that's when I just, fell in love with the self-improvement journey, honestly. So that was the very first time I realized that if you stick to something for a long period of time, you will get better at that thing that you are developing in, that craft. And for me, it was my body. So I applied that same mindset when it came to my financial, skill set. That's how I was able to make $120,000 a year. So then I was like, okay, this formula works. Now that I hit my six-figure goal, let me start a business now. But that same mindset, just being consistent over a long period of time. And that's when I was like, okay, two things I've been able to learn on my own: consistency over a long period of time, and investing in a course or a teacher to reduce the learning curve. So that's how I hired my mentor, Nigel Daly. And I spent like 6 months building that business and working my job full time. So I was able to get my first client, and that's a whole other story. But I worked with him for free because I knew that, okay, if I can just document a client getting results, then I have proof that I know what I'm doing. Aside from that, I'm in shape myself. I can prove that I can coach. So, hired my mentor, was able to get my first client, free client, and documented his journey. And through that, I was able to get my second client that paid me. I'll never forget this. It was 200 and it was like 200, it was $250 on a $1,000 package. And to this day, that first sale made me realize that this is possible. So then, what did I do? The same thing. Continued documenting, continued posting content, continued, talking to people on Instagram and saying, hey, look, do you need my help? We can chop it up, and it's up to you if you want my help at the end of the day. And it really is. It's up to the person that I'm talking to. It's up to them if they want my help. I'm just here to serve them. So I did that for 6 months, just creating content, building the business, learning all the skills, learning how to sell, learning how to, properly start conversation, learning how to make content, learning how to deliver, learning how to be a better coach, a better leader for 6 months straight. And 6 months of just doing that repeatedly, I made my monthly salary in 2 days. Yes, I made my monthly 110, 120K yearly salary. I made my monthly salary in 2 days. And then that's when I had my aha moment. I was like, whoa. I did this in 6 months, and it took me 3 years to make this kind of money. And that's when I had my first lick of the possibilities of entrepreneurship. So I looked at my financial situation, and I was like, I have a lot of runway. I can make this work. If I can make my monthly salary once, I can make my monthly salary again. I don't know why my nose itches, guys. Anyways, I'll never forget this. So I was tweaking for like almost a week or two on, not even a week, just a couple of days actually, on, damn, bro, should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I quit my job? And then I was talking to one of my boys in the online fitness space. His name is Charles. Charles, shout out to you. Him and I were both learning the business, and we both had clients, and we were both just like, dude, like, should I do it? He was like, dog, because he was doing it full time. He was like, dog, look, do you want to be on the sidelines or do you want to be in the fight? And I was like, oh no, I already know where this is going. And I was like, I want to be in the fight. And then he was like, all right, well, you could be in the arena. I mean, you could be on the sidelines, because what happens to people that are on the sidelines? And I was like, they're always gonna say reasons why they can't be in the fight. Right, is what he said. And who do you want to be? Who's most likely able to achieve what they want to achieve? The person on the sidelines or the person that's in the fight, regardless of the reasons why he shouldn't be in the fight? And I was like, the person in the fight. And he was like, okay, why? Because the person that doesn't allow fear, doesn't allow anxiety, the person that doesn't allow obstacles to get in his way is the one that's most likely going to achieve their goals, versus the person that just doesn't even try and staying on the sidelines. So he was like, so what do you got to do? And what did I do? I messaged my boss in that moment, and I said, hey, I'm quitting. I'm putting my 2 weeks in. She was like, what happened? And so I explained to her, what I've been doing after work. And she goes, wow, well, I mean, nah, do what you got to do. Like, you're young and follow your dreams. And I just told her, like, thank you so much for, giving me the opportunity to be here, because I honestly could not have been able to have built my business up to this point without you giving me an opportunity here. And it's true. She, like, that job really kept feeding me, feeding my bank account to the point where I felt like the business can replicate that. So I had to give her like a major shout out and tell her how grateful I was. So I put my 2 weeks in, and oh my god, that feeling of quitting my job, it felt like it felt like I jumped off an airplane uh, without a parachute, but I knew that as I go down, I'm going to learn how to fly. That's genuinely how that feeling felt. And so once I officially left my job, I immediately started to travel, because that was always something I really wanted to do. I really wanted to travel. And that's also a big reason why I joined the data analytics field, because it's you can work from home and you can uh, laptop lifestyle, travel wherever. But when I asked my boss what the travel policies were like, the second she said you have to put in an application and it has to get approved, the second she said approved, I knew that was like, corporate's not for me. That's it. It's not giving me the life I want. And so after I gave myself the life I wanted, I I started booking trips. I left my job. I traveled um to Colorado, to El Salvador, to Colombia, and I made content around the world and experienced like the sense of freedom that I always imagined in my head. And again, this is coming from that perspective of that little boy, that upbringing of, your family struggled to just do anything. And now I'm out here with my laptop being like, dude, like I can honestly make money behind a laptop and be anywhere. I didn't realize how far I've come telling this story. Wow. I'm so proud of myself. Wow. Yeah, I had to take a minute to like really be like, whoa. Like that little kid version of me, that 18, 19-year old, that broke kid in college, he would, if I was to tell him like what we'd be doing right now, he'd be like, "What the fuck? Really? No way. You left a six-figure job?" Is probably what he'd tell me. He's like, "You made your monthly salary in 2 days?" Wow. Anyways, I'm not even done yet, because wait till the bad parts start coming up. So even while I was traveling, bro, I was terrified. I was truly terrified, because I was like, dude, like, if I gotta make money and it's up to me. There's no employer that's like, yeah, you're gonna receive XYZ in 2 weeks. And that was scary, bro. That was so scary. Like being the only person, like you're responsible for making your own money now. Like no one here is gonna tell you what to do, how to do it, if what you're doing is wrong, if what you're doing is right. Nothing, just complete unknown. I never knew when my next sale was going to come because that's how I make money in my business. I had to sell my product and service to people. And like for the audience that doesn't know, I'm an online fitness coach, and I help family men, Latino men, lose anywhere between 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds plus, you know, because they just want to be the better version of themselves for either their families, their friends, or for themselves. So, if you're a Latino man, if you've made it this far, just click the link in the description below. We can talk and I can see if I can help you. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Dude, I was terrified. I was so scared. So for like 4 months, bro, I constantly worried if I would run out of money. Even though I had multiple years of living expenses stashed away, that fear would just not go away because I just didn't know how to navigate as an entrepreneur yet. I really didn't. I just, yeah, I didn't. And in all this, I understood that uncertainty was part of the filtering process when it came down to who was serious about being an entrepreneur. Just not knowing when the next win will come, when the next, money's gonna hit your account, that's scary. But I kept reminding myself that if I just continued to show up, I would improve and the money would come eventually. Again, it was just that same mindset from the gym, that same principle that I applied in my data career, and that same mindset that I applied in my business, honestly. So here comes the kicker. I invested in another coach. I dropped 10 bands on another coach. I'm not going to say who. At the time, at least, it was 10 grand. I don't know if they've increased their prices or not, but still, like, I don't want to put anyone's mentorships prices out there, so I'm just not going to say who. But I thought that if I invested more, I could learn something that was probably not taught to me in my first mentorship. But in reality, I realized that I was not putting in the work required to make money. And so when I realized that that's what was holding me back, I knew, okay, if you want to make this work, bro, you got to do the work that you're not willing to do. And that was basically like sending out DMs and going out of my way to talk to people, build conversation and all those things, you know? Creating content consistently every day, following up with people, you know? Um, that's an entrepreneur, bro. Like, you constantly have to be promoting your business every day, whether you feel like it or not. Talk to people constantly, build trust with your content, build trust with the relationships you're creating, show them that you can genuinely help them, achieve the outcome that they want with your help, your product, or your service. And in exchange, they give you money and you have to fulfill on that promise. And you both agree that by the end of the experience, that you are both well off from this interaction. That's entrepreneurship right there. And I was avoiding the talking to people part. I was expecting people to come to me just because I was in shape and I had, a couple testimonials under my belt. But no, that's not how it works. You got to put in a substantial amount of work to make it work. And once I realized that, um, I just committed to it then. I just committed to doing the thing that I was uncomfortable and that I was avoiding doing. I don't know if dropping that 10K was the smart move, but it did put me in a pinch where I was like, dude, I just dropped 10K. And if I don't make this money back, bro, I'm dead ass stupid. Like, I wasted all that money. So, in a nutshell, dropping that 10K was arguably like a blessing as well. I don't know. I think so. Anyways, um, so now that I knew that the boring work needed to be done, I started doing it. So from January to March, bro, my business was not doing well just because that was the time I wasn't putting in the work. I was making like 700 to 1500 a month after leaving a six-figure job that was paying me like after taxes like 6.6K a month. Dude, like the drop in status, the drop in income, the drop in security, just the drop in everything, dog. Drop in and the increase in the downside, the fear, the bank account going down, the uncertainty, the anxiety through the roof, like literally just damn. The stress, bro. The stress was fucking killing me. Bro, it got to the point where I was working 7 days a week, every day. And I was stressing myself out so much. And I constantly felt like I could be doing more, even though I was maxing out every day. And this was the true test of entrepreneurship right here. Now that I look back on it, that was this year, by the way. That was earlier in January 2026. I felt like if I had a slow month, then my value as a person would drop. And the reason why I believed that was because, I grew up in a household where the values are like, if you're the man, you provide. You take care of the women, the people you care about, your brothers, your sisters. And the fact that I couldn't and I left a six-figure job and I wasn't even able to take care of myself at the time, let alone, send money to my mom, not like I was during my six-figure jobs. I mean, to be fair, I was sending money to my mom, but the bank account was going low because I wasn't bringing money in. I didn't have a consistent cash flow. So I was like still able to send money to my mom, but on my end, I'm like, dude, I'm not making any much money though. Like this is only gonna last me a couple of years. I have to figure something out. And bro, I was so stressed that the stress became physical. Like so stressed, bro, that like my head started to hurt. But it felt like my brain was like trying to squeeze out of my skull, and my stomach, it felt like it was just twisting inside. And I'll never forget this. I woke up one morning, it was like at 6 in the morning. And I felt that, and I was like, no, you're gonna work anyways. And I couldn't do simple tasks. That's when I knew, shit, bro, I stressed myself sick. Like my cognitive function was not there. So I took the day off, and I called my girlfriend. Say, hey, look, babe, like I'm sick right now. Like there's just no way I can work. I've been working too many days for too many weeks for so many hours that I drove, I worked myself sick. Meanwhile, the stress on top of not making a lot of money, and I had a girlfriend. Keep in mind, bro, I'm 27 too, so it's like by this point I'm meant to have got something decent going for me. And I did, and I burned that boat. I left a six-figure income. Anyway, I tied my self-worth to my income, and it wasn't doing so hot. So that means my value to myself was not doing so well as well. And so I remember I called my girlfriend and I called my mom, and I just started crying, And I told them that I was sorry. And they were like, "What are you sorry for?" And I was like, "I'm letting you know that I'm sorry because, business isn't doing so hot right now. And I had all these dreams and aspirations that, I'll be able to really take care of you." And I'm talking to my mom and my girlfriend about this separately, but same message. And right now, like, I'm just giving myself permission to fail because I'm constantly hating myself every day. Every day. And I started crying because I was like I'm tired of feeling this way. Like, not being my best friend right now. Not being kind to myself. And I told myself, you know what? Like, no matter what happens, I will still love you, Eduardo. Even if this business fails. No matter what, like, I will still love you. I will not say I am worthless. I will not believe that I am worthless. I will continue to love myself. And that's what made me sad, because I was giving myself the option to fail. But that also, like, at the same time, I was also telling the people I care about, hey, if I can't deliver on my promises, like, I'm sorry. Like, I felt like in order to make me happy, I had to let other people down. And I tied my worth to money because I felt that if I'm able to take care of the people that I love, then I will be loved in return. And so when I told them that I might not be able to, I was accepting that I might not be loved or accepted by the people I love. And they both told me, Eduardo, like, bro, you're tripping. Like, we will still love you. And that broke me. But it broke me in a good way, though. I was relieved that, wow, the thing that I feared the most is not going to happen. So all that stress went away. I took 4 days off and went back to the business, posting, sending DMs, working to get calls booked. And that's when the one client I had, I was able to get a second client. And then not long after that, I was able to get a third client. And then not long after that, I got a fourth client. And I was like, whoa, hold on, we're still in this game. We just made a couple racks. Let's go. And then I fed off that momentum. Like, a month went by where I didn't get a new client, but I was satisfied that, hey, I got 4 right now. Like, money's coming in. So let's continue growing. Come on. Continue hunting. You got this. And then I got 4 turned to 6. And then 6 turned to 8. 8 turned to 10. 10 turned to 12, and so on and so forth. And the next thing I know, I made $10,000 in 1 month. And that was recent, bro. That was this past July. And I've been striving for that number for so long because the value I put on that number was that if I can learn how to run a business that generates me $10,000 a month, then I know that I will never go broke, and I will have this internal security that I believed I always wanted because I had that upbringing I told you about. I know that I will never go broke. I will be just fine for the rest of my life. And I finally hit that number. And the irony in all this is once I achieved that goal and the high of it went away, I felt empty. I was like, what's next? You know, and then getting up and continuing to hunt again, I was like, dude, my heart's not in it. But why though? I was like, I've been chasing this for so long, and now that I have it, I don't know what I'm doing this for anymore. And then I realized that I got, well, I realized two things. One is that the the pursuit of a goal is actually the prize because you feel fulfilled chasing that next goal. So I realized that I have to give myself goals to feel happy and fulfilled, or to feel more fulfilled. Happiness you can feel like, shout out to Sean for showing me this, my boy Sean. You can be happy like eating a Chipotle, but feeling fulfilled, that comes with purpose. And purpose comes with, you know, growth. And what causes growth? You know, reaching a goal. And I also gotta give a shout out to my spiritual side because there were moments. I grew up Christian, right? Man, I haven't practiced that in so many years. I've been practicing it more lately because it was during my those slow months in my business where I was stressed the fuck out that I was like, you know what, man, like let's just go back to a job and continue building this part time. And every time internally I was ready to just go, a new client would come. A DM would come in, people asking for my coaching. It was weird, bro. I'll never forget. I'll tell you two stories. The first one, um, it was right after I got my second client. I was like, okay, I was just about to quit. I told myself, all right, give yourself 1 month. If you can't find at least 2 to 3 clients in the next month, just go back to a job. That new client came like a couple days after that. Then I was like, whoa, okay, weird. It was like a coincidence. Then a second client came not long after that either. So I was like, whoa, okay. And in the process of leading up to, you know, where I'm at right now, where I have 10 plus clients, there were moments where I was okay, I got a handful. Let me look for another job while these clients like, you know, are taking care of the business right now. Let me look for another job and I can continue serving them because I'll have more financial peace of mind. But I started job searching for like 1 day. And then later that week, I got 2 more clients. And I was like, bro, why is it that the universe, God, or whatever is out there is like, no, you are not going back to a job right now. Here are some clients that are going to keep you pretty much in the belief that you can make this work. Anyways, after stacking a bunch of clients and staying consistent, I hit my 10K month and I felt empty. And that's when I realized that I need to pursue another goal and do something that's not for money, something to just give. And the example I like to use is like the difference between like imagine your best friend, right? Hold on, my girlfriend just is calling me. Let me tell her I'm podcasting right now. Hey, I'm shooting a podcast episode. Let me call you back. Anyway, where was I? Oh, I had to do something. I had to set two new goals. One was a goal for my business, and the second goal is do something that's just to give. It's not about money, and I'll find fulfillment there. And the example I like to use is like, imagine your best friend, right? Your boy, girl, whoever's watching. I'm gonna use a guy example. What's gonna hit harder? Buying your boy or buying a Rolex for yourself or buying a Rolex for your best friend on his wedding day? What's gonna hit harder? If you're a real one, you know the latter. So I realized that, giving creates a level of fulfillment that sometimes, personal achievements don't always provide. So that's why I started podcasting, because I want this to be a platform where people can use my experience and what I've learned in my life to take away lessons and teachings that they can provide and implement into their own lives so that way their lives can improve. So I'm not just going to be talking on this podcast about just fitness. It's going to be like, mindset, um, fitness. It's going to be ways of thinking, experiences that listening to other people, won't teach you, and just life lessons. I want to put this out there so that way this can be a place where people can be like, whoa, like I feel like I relate to Eduardo. Listening to him made me less anxious about where I am in my life. Listening to Eduardo and following his advice and implementing it made my life easier. I genuinely want to be that for someone because I've listened to so many people for so many years of my life, and I've implemented what I've heard from years ago in my business today, and it's made me a better man, a better business owner. It's made me more money. It's made me more fulfilled. It's made me happier. It's made me smarter when it comes to navigating life. And I want to do that for others. Why I want to do that? I guess it's because if I could help someone that was in my same shoes get out of their rut, it would make me happy. Because I know that feeling in your chest where you kind of feel like you're in a hole and you're just dealt with the shittiest cards and you're just looking at the sky and feeling and hating why did this have to be my life? If I could help someone get out of that rut, or at least take a nugget from my channel and be like, this nugget helped me get out of that nightmare of a life I had, then that would just bring me joy. Damn, I still have more to talk about. Holy shit. Hmm. Fuck it. Let's run it. Anyways, that's why I started this podcast. This is episode number 4, by the way. And so, after I've started doing this, and I realized I have a newfound purpose, not long after that, earlier this past July, I went to the lake with my girlfriend and my dog. We sat by the waters and we played chess. And it was a beautiful day. And at one point, I told her, I wanted to stop for a moment and just look at the water and just be present. And when I was trying to be present, the first 2 minutes were very hard. I started to get anxious because I had a difficult time keeping my attention to what was in front of me. Like my mind kept drifting towards, business or my future, what I should be doing. But but the whole point of trying to be present is to be present, not give myself time to think. Because I have those thoughts all the time. I just wanted a break from that. But even though I wanted a break from it, I couldn't give myself a break. It was weird. So I remember I just told myself, Eduardo, and enjoy what's in front of you. And I noticed this airplane, or no, not this airplane. I noticed this. Was it this airplane? Okay, I noticed first this airplane, right? That passed over. I was like, whoa, word. And then I see this dude. I don't know if it was like a hot air balloon or something, but it was like he was sitting on it. He had a parachute, and he was controlling it remotely, with I don't know. He was so far away. I'm assuming that's what it was. But I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, whoa, look at that. And then finally I was present. And then I would just stare at the waters, stare at the reflection of the sun. I would stare at the birds that were crossing, from one side of the lake to the other. And then there was this one bird that went down and was this far away from the water. I just saw its reflection, and I was like, whoa, that looks so cool. It's like National Geographic's. Just now I was finally enjoying being present. And then I remember thinking for a solid 1 minute. I was like, I'm so grateful to be alive. Even though I'm not where I want to be, even though I still feel like I have so many miles to continue walking. Hold on, I want to say that word. I have so many miles that I have so many miles ahead of me. I was still just enjoying the moment. And next thing I know, I started crying. Not because I was sad, because I was like, oh my God. It felt relieving to be present. And I looked at my girlfriend. She was like, hey, are you okay? I was like, yo, I'm crying. She was like, what happened? I was like, no, I'm just so grateful to be alive right now. And I sat back and thought to myself, and I told her, I was like, I think I haven't given myself time to just enjoy my day, enjoy my life, enjoy what's in front of me, and just be happy that I'm here. I'm always thinking about the business, about working about improving, about, just growing, that I didn't take the time to just sit and enjoy. And then I guess that's just when I learned that, enjoy being present. It's very healthy if you do that. Seriously. And yeah, here's a nugget I want to pass down to you. I want my experiences and my mistakes and lessons to become useful for someone else. So, that's where I'm at. today in my life. What I understand now, I guess to wrap this up, making my first 10K month did make me happy, but not in the way I thought it would. Um, it did give me confidence that I'll be fine. However, like money alone is never going to make me feel whole. And you've probably heard of this from so many other people, and I'm telling you, it's facts. It's facts. Trust me. If you don't believe me, chase it, get the goal you want, then you're gonna realize, fuck, this is not what I thought it was. Now, don't get me wrong, like it does make life a lot easier. Trust me. Like being able to spoil my family is the best feeling in the world. Nothing beats that, yeah. Now, on the flip side, I also recently understood that fulfillment comes more than just, from achievement. It comes from just giving to give, you know? It also comes from being present, from loving people, from serving, and just building something that matters, but beyond you. It's like, no, this isn't for me. This is literally for other people. And since I've like given myself this new mission, I've definitely felt more fulfilled. So, yeah. Um so for now, I'm going to continue building, learning and giving. And if you've made it this far, well, welcome to the podcast. So, thanks for tuning in. I will give another episode next week. Aside from that, ciao familia.